Well, what people need to understand is there's a lot of people claiming to be entities that they are not. And what's happened is, once again, it's the selling off of everything. So they've sold the government department off and they've replaced it with a private corporation
Yeah.
that are pretending to be that government department.
Yeah.
So if you look at the High Court, for example, and as soon as anyone makes a claim against me, the first thing I do, well, I look up their ABN number
Yep.
just to see if I have to pay them. Do they have an ABN number?
Yep.
And if they do, well, they've got some sort of claim. And
Yeah.
then I look at their ASIC listing. But with the, and that will reveal a lot. It will show you who you're dealing with. Now, when you go to the High Court, if you go to the Australia Act and you look in the definitions at the back, it's where they've changed what the courts are. And they've changed the courts into Australian courts. There's no Commonwealth courts in this country. They will use the word or the term Commonwealth Court, but they are deceiving you because I'll tell you why. Number one, the Australia Act provides that and tells us in the definitions that the High Court is not an Australian court. Now there's another Commonwealth Act called the Public Governance, Performance and Accountability Act. And that Act tells us that the High Court is not a Commonwealth entity. So it's not an Australian court, it's not a Commonwealth entity. The Crown was removed in 1973, so it fails to be a Chapter 3 court. So who are they? That is the question. Now, if you have these government entities approaching you, these are the questions you need to ask: who you are.
Absolutely.
And then you need to ask yourself, once you establish who they are, do you have any obligation to that entity?
Yep. Absolutely.
Now, you'll find that as soon as you start doing that, people start going away and they stop making claims against you, because you've got to understand who you are and who they are.
Yeah.
And talking about who you are, let's talk about corporation souls. As we're all aware, the Queen of Australia is a corporation soul. And she's been created, it's an office holder, as an office holder. And the reason why they create her as a corporation soul is because she has to have perpetual succession. But we've been looking into this, and there's two types of corporations, as most people know. There's a corporation aggregate, which is many people acting as one.
Yep.
And then we have a corporation soul, which is one person acting as one.
Yep.
So Mike, which description basically describes you? You're not many people acting as one, are you? Okay,
just
so
me.
you're not a corporation aggregate.
No,
Are you one person acting as one?
that's me.
Okay.
See it?
He was
So-
only he was the only person at the barbecue tonight.
So Mike's just confirmed, and think about it, guys, out there. When you look at this definition of a corporation soul being one person acting as one, that's exactly who we all are. You're one person acting as one. They've created this birth certificate trust for you. Okay? Now, in Australian law, there's a requirement for a corporation soul. It must be created by statute. So if you look at the Queen, who's a corporation soul, and you look at the statute that's created her, it's the Royal Styles and Titles Act of 1973.
Yep.
But what about us? People are going to go, oh, well, I haven't got a statute that creates me as a corporation. Well, I beg to differ. So each state of the Commonwealth has a Births, Deaths and Marriages Act. And within that act, there's provision to create a corporation that is a birth certificate. And that's how they provide, or that's how you basically provide your allegiance to the Queen. And in return, you receive her protection for that allegiance. but it also brings benefits, but many obligations. So there's how you are linked to being a corporation sole, because there is an act that creates you as that entity.
Yeah.
So I do believe, Mike, that there's a fraud being perpetuated upon everyone. Because if you go to the Corporations Act and you look at section 57A, you will see that a corporation sole is deemed not to be a corporation for the purposes of law. So that makes a lot of sense, because you are a corporation sole. You're a not-for-profit organisation, because all you're trying to do is to sustain yourself. But they've corporatised you, and they're treating you like a corporation aggregate, many people acting as one, like a big corporation.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, you're that sort of corporation and you're deriving a profit, so we need to tax you on the profits of your enterprise.
Yeah.
Now, there lies the trick. So when you go into court, speak to them about the corporation sole.
Absolutely.
Because they're trying to tell you that you're a corporation aggregate, okay, and you have some sort of obligation, and that you're generating profits, and you're doing all the same things as a corporation aggregate, but you're not. So you need to rebut the presumption when you go into court, because that is the presumption on the table. Okay, when you walk into court, there's a presumption that they are there to administer your birth certificate trust. You must rebut that presumption and take control of the trust within the court. So if people focus on that, they'll find they'll get a lot further down the road
That standing.
with with the courts of the state.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another thing that comes to mind, I mean, if you say that the corporation sole has to be created by a law of the state, but they've supposedly created this Queen of Australia, where's the law of the state that created that corporation sole?
100%. That's right, spot on.
Yet another problem.
It keeps on. The more you look at it, the more cans of worm that don't just open get thrown on the table.
And that's how your name's written on the body.
I'll just throw in one more.
I mean, it's just.
Well, here we go. Under the bus, straight under the bus.
Under the bus, as Darren said, under section 57A of the Corporations Act, it says in subsection 3, to avoid doubt, an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander corporation is taken to be a corporation for the purpose of this act.
See that? Hear that? You're taken to be a corporation for the purposes of the act. You know why? So that they can treat you like a corporation. Because they're saying, we're going to treat you like a corporation aggregate, many acting as one who derives a big profit, and now we're going to tax you like that entity. So that's what they're doing. That's the trickery that's going on when you are actually a corporation sole. So it's, in a way, your birthright has been stolen from you.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. So wow, there you go. Some big information on tonight's show, and I'm sure there's absolutely no way you could have possibly taken all of that in live tonight. So please do make sure you listen into the podcast when that gets uploaded in the next couple of days.
Can I just say that we'll make our submissions available once we have them filed, and we're going to make it very public and have the public come for us and with us. I mean, and so.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no, we'll
just
so
people understand, because we've all got to act. You know, we've all got to act now. We've got the answer and the remedy and where we need to go, and we've worked it out. Now we need the support of the Australian people, and we will win it. Because the law's on our side.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as I was saying about the all the magic lies within the royal prerogative, and if you look in each administrative court of the state, such as, I'll use the state of Victoria because that's where we're sitting in, like the Magistrates Court Act, if you look in regards to the challenging of jurisdiction, you will see that you can challenge jurisdiction upon a prerogative right, and that puts you straight into the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Okay, for that challenge. That's where you need to go, because that's where the jurisdictional mischievousness is occurring. And that's where the challenge needs to go.
Yeah.
That's the magic word for tonight.
And I must say, we've sent Rod into the courts in Western Australia, and Rod's turned the Supreme Court of Western Australia upside down with this material. So the Registry and the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
It's the best indoor game of footy I've ever witnessed. I've never seen so many good handballs.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Over to you.